Elon Musk, it seems like he just keeps going up like his rockets, like his net worth. We all know that he was already the richest person around, but lately, well, things have just gone crazy.
It really is something else. He's the first to break $400 billion. I mean, think about that for a second. That's way more than someone like Jeff Bezos, for example.
I know. It's wild. So what do you think is behind all of this surge? I mean, SpaceX is now worth what, 350 billion, making it the most valuable startup we've ever seen?
Well, the thing is, even with the buyback program they offered, they had very few sellers, Employees, investors, they're holding on tight. And it's not just about the money, I think. They really believe in what SpaceX is doing. They believe in the mission.
I see what you're saying. It's more than just like a financial bet for them. But it's not just SpaceX, of course. Tesla's stock is doing incredibly well, too. It's hit record highs per share, especially since the election.
Yeah, Tesla is definitely a big factor in all of this. Investors are really optimistic about some of the potential changes coming down the line, things like autonomous vehicles, maybe changes to regulations around those. And then there's the EV tax credit.
Oh, right. And there's even talk about the incoming administration. Maybe they'll end that $7,500 tax credit for EVs.
Oh.
What do you think? What kind of impact would that have?
Well, it's tough to say. It's a complicated issue. On the one hand, you could argue that it levels the playing field a bit right now. But, some people say that without that credit, EVs just wouldn't be affordable, especially for, your average person.
What about the environment? Would getting rid of that credit, would that slow us down, in terms of switching to more sustainable transportation?
That's the big question, isn't it? A lot of folks believe that the tax credit is a big incentive to get people to buy EVs, which is good for reducing emissions and all that. So removing it, well, it could slow things down for sure. But then again, you could also argue that the market's mature enough now that maybe we don't need government help.
I suppose it's about finding that sweet spot, isn't it? Encouraging progress, but also making sure it's affordable for everyone. Okay, let's move on to something else for a minute. What about xAI? Musk's AI startup? It's now worth over $50 billion, which is more than double what it was.
Yeah.
Just after one funding round. What do you make of that?
It's pretty clear that there's a lot of interest in AI these days, a lot of investment, and this could really change everything. So many industries could be transformed, but you have to think about the ethical side of it too, of course. And Musk, well, he's right there at the forefront of all of this, which is, well, a little bit scary if you ask me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, he's always pushing things forward, disrupting things, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Speaking of Musk's companies, I wanted to ask you about that legal thing with Tesla, his pay package. Remember that? Over $100 billion, approved by the shareholders, but then a court said no. What do you think that did to his overall, wealth?
It doesn't seem to have made much of a difference, which is kind of amazing if you think about it. I mean, he's still unbelievably wealthy. A lot of the calculations out there, they still include that pay package, even though it was rejected. And of course, it's worth even more now. But, even if you took all of that out, he'd still be number one by a long shot.
I know. It's almost like it's too much money to even make a dent. But that leads to a bigger question. How do you feel about, all this power that he has, I mean, the wealth, the influence, it just keeps growing. What does that mean for all of us?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it? I mean, having so much wealth in the hands of one person, makes you think about inequality. And what about, the potential for him to influence things in a way that maybe isn't good for everyone. But then again, he does invest in things that could really benefit us, like SpaceX and what they're doing with space exploration, or even Tesla with their push for clean energy. It's like, it could be a good thing or a bad thing, He's got the money to do some amazing things, but could it go wrong? That's what worries me.
It's almost like we're living in some kind of science fiction movie, One guy with all this money and power, like he could change the world.
I know what you mean. People compare him to like Tony Stark, that Iron Man character. I can kind of see it. They're both ambitious, into technology, and they like to push things as far as they can.
I guess the difference is that Musk is a real person. What he does has real effects,
Exactly. Everything he does affects, well, everything. The economy, climate change, even people's everyday lives.
Which brings us to the election. No one saw that coming, right? I mean, Musk and the new president, they're working together.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? I mean, they don't really agree on some pretty big things, like climate change.
But, ever since the election, it's like they've suddenly become best friends.
I know. And now he's in charge of this new department, the Department of Government Efficiency. BDOGE, they call it.
DOGE. That's a weird name, don't you think?
Yeah, it's kind of a Musk thing, isn't it? I mean, the whole point of this department is to, make the government work better. Less bureaucracy and more innovation, that kind of thing.
Sounds like a tough job. Do you think he can actually pull it off? I mean, he's a tech guy, not a politician.
I don't know. Some people think it's great. They say that he's not part of the system, so he can shake things up, make real changes. But others, they're not so sure. They say that running a company is very different from running a government department.
It does feel like a bit of a gamble, doesn't it? It could be great, but it could also blow up in everyone's face.
That's the thing. If it works, we might have a more efficient, more responsive government. But if it doesn't, people are going to trust the government even less than they already do.
And it could just make the whole political situation even worse. It's a lot riding on this, that's for sure.
It'll be interesting to see what happens, that's for sure.
It feels like with Musk, there's always something going on, you know? He's either starting something new or saying something controversial. Why do you think that is? Why does he always seem to be in the news?
Well, he's definitely not boring, that's for sure. Some people love him, some people hate him. People praise him for his ideas, but they also criticize him for how he runs his businesses. And, sometimes he says things on social media that, well, maybe he shouldn't. Plus, he says these crazy deadlines, and then, surprise, surprise, things don't go according to plan.
So he's complicated.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's got good qualities and, well, some not so good ones. But no matter what you think of him, he's definitely made a mark.
He's really changing things with his companies, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And now he's got even more power, more influence to, I don't know, maybe even shape the future.
And he does seem to care about that in his own way. He keeps talking about making life multiplanetary, and he wants to switch the world over to clean energy and make sure AI doesn't go off the rails.
The goals, but who knows if he can actually achieve them. But, he doesn't just want to be rich. He wants to do something with that money.
I think that's what makes him different from a lot of other billionaires, It's not just about the money. He wants to leave a legacy, to change the world in some way.
I guess we'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
But his story, whether it's a success or a failure, shows just how powerful one person can be.
It really does. He's pushing innovation. He's taking risks. It's an incredible story.
I think it's a story that's still being written, and who knows what's going to happen next. It's going to be exciting, that's for sure.
It really is. There's this feeling like anything could happen,
Speaking of things that are a little bit strange, that name for his department, DOGE.
The Department of Government Efficiency.
It's the same name as that cryptocurrency, Dogecoin. The one that started as a meme.
Oh, yeah, Dogecoin. It got super popular there for a while.
So what do you think? Is that just a coincidence, or is there something more to it?
I don't know. Some people just think it's funny, a little joke. But others think, well, they think it's deliberate. Like he's trying to connect with, internet culture. He's good at that, using the internet to get people excited about his projects.
It's just another thing that makes him so fascinating, You never really know what he's thinking or what he's going to do next.
He's like a puzzle you can't quite solve.
It makes him interesting, but also a little bit, I don't know, unpredictable.
Exactly. He's like innovation itself, You never know what's going to happen, but it's always going to be interesting.
I like that.
It makes you think, doesn't it? About the future, I mean. What are we going to do with someone like Musk calling the shots, running these big companies, and now in the government?
Yeah. It's kind of scary, but also exciting at the same time, right?
I know. It feels like we're on the edge of something big. All this new technology, it could change everything. How we live, how we work, how we see the world.
But there are some big problems too, like climate change and inequality.
Right. And those are problems that need new solutions, new ways of thinking. Maybe that's where Musk comes in.
I mean, it seems like the lines are getting blurry, between tech, business, and politics.
And the thing is, the decisions that people like Musk make, they affect everyone. It's not just about them.
So what do we do? I mean, how do we even start to think about all of this?
I think it starts with asking the right questions. Like, what are the ethics of all this new technology? Who has the power and how do they use it? What is the government's role in all of this? How do they encourage innovation, but also protect people?
There are no easy answers to any of this, that's for sure.
No, but we have to try. We have to figure out a way to make the future bounty for everyone, not just a few lucky people.
And it looks like people like Elon Musk, well, they're going to play a big role in all of this, whether we like it or not.
It's true. He's either the hero, the villain, or maybe a bit of both. But he's definitely making a difference.
This is a really strange time to be alive, isn't it?
It really is. But I can't wait to see what happens next.
Goodbye, and see you in the next video.